Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Jessica Johnson. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you do because today we are talking how to stop self-sabotage when you receive a dream. So have you ever noticed that when you get close to a dream, like maybe you get close to a health goal, maybe you get close to a revenue number in business, maybe you get close to having a ton of people see or like a post on social media, even if you're growing a platform or something you care about, but you kind of lose the result or fall back as you're approaching your goal, this is for you. Or on the converse, maybe you actually can reach a goal, but you have a really hard time sustaining it. That is what we're going to talk about today because sometimes there is some subconscious self-sabotage going on when you see those patterns. So this is what I've learned, and these are the questions that I ask myself whenever I'm in that pattern of like, I'm really close, but I just can't hit this one number. Like you hear that a lot in business where they're like, it just feels like there's a ceiling on hitting a certain goal in their business, or health, it happens a lot where you can push yourself for a few months, but you reach your goal and you fall back into your own patterns. Obviously, some of this is making habits that we can be consistent with and all that stuff. But if there's something else going on, or you just find this cycle repeating itself in other areas of your life or your relationships, let's talk about what else could be going on. So I'm going to give you 3 questions to ask yourself to finally stop self-sabotage and get or keep the results that you desire. So the first one that I always think about is there part of me that doesn't want this? So maybe you actually say that you want this goal in business of, let's say, 10K months. But there's part of you that worries about what will happen if you hit those 10K months. Like, is there part of you that actually doesn't want it because that means you're going to have to step up in a different way, get more visible, maybe even pay more? I've heard that be a thing too, where people are like, I wanted to make so much money, but it scared me to have these big bills or to need to involve additional attorneys or things like that. It just felt like a bigger level I was getting to that felt kind of scary. Maybe with love or something like that, one part of you says that you really want the love of your dreams, but then this other part of you loves being independent and untethered and free. And so there's kind of like this push and pull happening where you're saying you're wanting one thing, but you actually deep down like don't in a way. Maybe same with health. You say that you want like the 6-pack abs or the bikini in summer or whatever, but there's part of you that really like loves your curves and loves like feeling like you're just, I don't know, like in a different shape or something in your skin, or loves your current habits and doesn't want to have to do the extreme macro counting or whatever it is. That's okay. I think it's just getting really clear with ourselves and saying, is there a part of me that doesn't want this thing that I'm saying to myself or to others that I actually want? And what is that part of us? And what are you afraid of? Is it more responsibility? Is it more visibility? Is it more like having to figure things out in a different way? Is it more of the unknown? Is it losing an aspect of your life that you actually really love right now? Like, that's okay too. Just admitting it, I think, is the first place that we can work with to then start to say, okay, now that I can see this so clearly, like, is this a true part of me, or is there something that I want to shift here? And how can I lovingly, maybe even write to yourself and just be like, I can see why you would, be worried about that or lose this part of your life. But this is important to me for these reasons, and can we get on board together? So I literally sometimes talk to myself like that because I think our brain's doing a lot for us, but it's sometimes trying to protect us in a way that isn't always helpful. So you can kind of work with your own self as well. There's this one system called internal family systems, and they work with parts. So you know how sometimes you'll literally say like, oh, part of me wants this, but part of me doesn't. So their whole philosophy is that we have lots of different parts inside of us. And whenever we are feeling resistance, it's because there's some conflict between a few parts of us. So there might be this part of you that's saying, go, 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 work harder, work the late nights. And there's this other part of you saying, I'm tired. I don't want to like grind harder just to get the next promotion and have more work. And so if you can kind of lovingly look at and talk to and give a voice to those parts, you can start to break through that resistance, and you can start to figure out what is really going on internally that is leading to those things, those cycles that you want to break? How can you give a voice to the part of you that's kind of always putting on the brakes? And then how can you help those parts kind of work together? So I'm not obviously an expert in that, but if you are interested, there's definitely professionals all around the world that can help you with that in therapy or something like that. But it's just kind of interesting to know. And I think once I started thinking of my internal parts like that, where I'm like, oh yeah, there is kind of like the manager part who keeps everyone moving, but then there's also the parts of me that like don't want to do that so rigorously or have such a routine or things like that. So you will figure out your own parts as well, but that's just something to be mindful of. So the first one is like, is there part of you that doesn't want this? And maybe that's what's preventing you from reaching your goal or sustaining it. The next one is, what am I afraid will happen if I get my dream? So, with any new dream, there's trade-offs. So maybe you dream of this beautiful family life, but there's also part of you that's afraid of all that will come with it. And can you handle it? And what are the unknowns? Like, that can be okay too. But just giving voice to, what am I afraid of if I reach my dream? For me, with business and leaving corporate, like, I really wanted to start a successful business, but I was also afraid of what that would mean in terms of having to leave the steady job that I had built for myself over years in corporate America. I was scared of actually giving my 2 weeks notice and losing the stability of the paycheck and things like that. So yes, part of me was so excited to start a business, but there was a big part of me that was afraid too of not only how I'd handle it, but what my coworkers would think, what my family would say. It's just natural to have those parts in our subconscious, and so looking at them is how you move through it. Even when I was publishing my first book, I've shared about this before, but I was so scared as it got closer of putting my heart and my work out there because it was so meaningful to me and it was so much a part of my heart that I just felt like very exposed putting it out there. And so I was afraid of what the reviews would say. I had this picture that I would get just nonstop 1-star reviews on Amazon. And so even though I was close to my dream, there was part of me that was like, should I even publish this book? Because what if the reviews are bad? So that was a really very real example of, what am I afraid will happen? And once I saw that, I could actually work with it. So what I ended up doing in that scenario is I actually pictured worst case scenario. I pictured things being even worse than I imagined on the review front. We're putting my book out there. It was the worst book of all time and people were saying the worst things about it. And what happened is, instead of being scared of that, I actually started to feel free because I realized I would survive. I realized that I would still be, at the time, in a dream come true, like publishing the book from an island in the Mediterranean. I'd be with my husband. I would probably be really sad if people didn't like it, but I would survive. And I would probably just kind of like, after being sad, I'd probably laugh about it at the end of the day and be like, well, that was like quite the experience. The internet really delivered. And so you may find that too, where like, if there's something you're afraid of, I invite you to actually play out what is the worst case scenario, because what you might find is that you can handle it and that you'll survive, and you can make a plan for what you would do if that actually happened and realize that you'll get to the other side. And so all of a sudden it loses its power over you. And now you're able to go do the thing that you dream of, because even if the worst case happened, you know that you could handle it and publish your dream or share your dream or get to your dream or whatever it may be. So what are you afraid will happen? A big thing that can come in, which I kind of reference in my stories, but maybe it feels true for you, and this would be the third thing I would think about, is like, how do other people in your life talk about people with your dream? So this one comes up a lot with money, as people develop their own money mindset and confidence with gaining abundance and wealth. But we all, since a very young age, have been indoctrinated with beliefs around money, from our religious institutions, from the media, from our parents, from politics. All of it plays in. And so if you have heard since you were a young child that people with money are greedy or selfish, you are going to subconsciously block becoming someone with wealth and abundance, because you don't want to become someone who is greedy or selfish. And so you really have to start looking at, what am I hearing about people with my dream from the people I love and the people that are close to me? Because that's of course going to play into how comfortable and confident you feel achieving your dream or being someone with that dream. Sometimes I hear people talk about this when it comes to health examples as well, where like if they've always considered themselves to be a certain level of health, and they hear their friends and family making comments about, oh, well, they don't eat anything, or what will you have for the holidays, or have the cake, or come on, don't be so difficult. It really starts to play into your own goals and dreams in that arena. And so it's not to say that you can't still have those loving relationships, but it's more just to shine a light on why you may be feeling resistance. If you're trying to naturally stay with the pack and the tribe, and your pack and tribe is saying things that are judgmental towards who you want to become or make you feel unsafe, that's such just a natural biological programming in us. Like, we had to survive by being with a tribe throughout evolution and history, right? And so if now, even though we're in 2025 and times have changed since back when we were maybe in a tribe like as cavemen and stuff, that's still wired in here to want to be long and to be safe by belonging. And so I think you can just give yourself some grace there if you are noticing that you're having a hard time reaching that next level in your health and relationships and business. But then you also are hearing people talk about whatever that dream is of yours in maybe a negative way or a judgmental way. It makes sense that you'd have some hesitation and you might be holding yourself back. So what I've done in those scenarios is just get in different circles. Like, love the people that you love, but also realize that the part of you that is ready to evolve needs to be honored as well. And so even if it's as simple as joining Facebook groups of people who share similar goals, of joining a mentorship program and having like a coach on your side that can really support you and be the louder voice in your head that you can do this and you're capable and you're worthy. Maybe it means going to networking events, like you could go on Eventbrite or Meetup and find networking groups in your area where you could meet like-minded people. You could join a course or a program at a local university or online where you get around people that are thinking about the things that you want. I feel like I've really grown leaps and bounds by getting into groups where people are not just talking about my dreams, but they're going even bigger. So now I don't feel like the crazy one for having a certain goal. I'm like, I need to dream bigger. These people are on another level. And so you may find that as well, where you feel like you are unrelatable to the people you're around, but it's not like you're unrelatable in general. It's just because you need to be in a different group, and all of a sudden that group, you're not unrelatable at all. Like, you need to dream more. So those are some things that I would definitely think about. I think consider with yourself and maybe journal, because you'll really get into your subconscious there and maybe things that you can't get from like a 2-second thought exercise. But think about, number one, what part of me doesn't want this? And that's okay, but work with it. Number two, what am I afraid will happen if I get my dream? Number three, what do the people in your life say about people with your dream? And what does that uncover about why you've been perhaps self-sabotaging or getting close to a dream but falling short or unable to sustain it? I think this is some of the most powerful work you can do, because it's not those surface level things of just pushing harder or faster or making yourself do more. It's actually getting to the root of what is hanging you up to begin with. And I think in those things is also where you can grow as like a person and a soul that has something to learn or some wisdom to gain to actually move on. There's a beautiful quote that says, nothing goes away until it teaches us what we need to know. And so if you find yourself in these repetitive cycles, maybe there's something that you just haven't learned about what you need to know. And as soon as you ask these questions and you get inside and you realize what is going on, you'll be able to graduate from that lesson and move on to the next ones because you've gotten the lesson and the wisdom from it. So I hope these encourage you. I will share a video if you're interested in this topic that you can keep learning more on this journey and this particular theme. And if you have any more comments or questions about this, definitely drop them below. I'd love to learn what you uncover or what else you're interested in as it relates to this topic. It's one I've had to learn the hard way so many times. So happy to share any lessons and aha moments with you so that we can all progress in our dreams together. So super grateful you're here, and I will see you again soon.